Super Bowl 51, a scene that continues, that will never be forgotten. The Patriots somehow, some way, from 25 points down, have won Super Bowl 51. The commissioner shakes hands with the MVP. He gives the trophy to the Kraft family, Robert, Jonathan, and New England. Where do we begin? Where do we end? This is NFL primetime. You know the music. You know the scene. I'm Chris Berman. This is a one-time MVP of this Super Bowl, Steve Young. This is Randy Moss, who played with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and the Patriots. All we have to say is if this was preordained, all the commissioner and the trophy and the history, and if this was preordained, what an odd way to deliver it. Wow!
I feel like I was a witness. I feel like something really special generationally happened in one of the great football games in the history of the game. And then it happened to be at a time and a place where Tom Brady, I mean, those of us that have climbed Everest and put the flag in,
yes,
and smelled the air, the lack of it or whatever else, but then you have to come back down. And I just got to feel that Tom Brady has basically built a house up there. He's just going to live there. He doesn't like the lower elevation. He's just going to hang out there. And there's something about tonight that just feels like it's different than any of the big games. How many Super Bowls have we sat or watched, stood and watched the last play go either way? Great games, but something about this game and what it meant for 5 Super Bowls for the Patriots, Tom Brady 5, and what was on the line and how it came and unfolded. Randy, I got to be honest with you. I sat there and when they scored to win it, I'm like, I was here, and I'll be telling my kids I was here.
Well, the thing about it, man, it was a lot of buzz in the air, man. I'm actually speechless. Down 28-3. It was flat in this stadium. You know, you couldn't hear nothing. You know, coming on to this show, boom, you looked at Roger Goodell and Tom Brady shaking hands. I read Roger Goodell's lips. Awesome. Awesome. It was an awesome night. It was an awesome performance, just not by Tom Brady, but by the Patriots as a whole. Great play calling offensively. Great defensive calling when you needed to stop the offense of the Atlanta Falcons. And as a whole, man, the confetti fell. Man, like I said, I'm speechless for words, boom. Historical moment for the National Football League and the New England Patriots tonight.
And I'll say this. In a league that's right now designed to prevent dynasties with free agency, scheduling, the draft, the New England Patriots are a dynasty, and they just keep adding to it.
As long as they have Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, they're going to continue to be a dynasty and continue to win a lot of games and continue to win Super Bowls. No end appears to be in sight. It really is remarkable. I mean, I'm still in disbelief over what we watched. I mean, to be down that many points, and it looked like the game essentially was over, and yet Tom Brady and the Patriots are able to climb back in it and win this game, and I'm speechless, really. I mean, it's pretty amazing, and what a great win for a great organization and for a great quarterback who, if there was ever any questions coming into this game, certainly all of that is removed. He's the greatest of all time.
Yeah, okay, so this was a 25-point game at one point. This becomes the biggest comeback in the history of the Super Bowl by a mile at the end of the first overtime game in the history of the Super Bowl. And they did it a lot of different ways. I tell you, a guy, James White. Not a lot of people were thinking about James White coming into this game. But, man, what an effort here tonight. And the rookie Malcolm Mitchell on the outside I thought was big in the second half, too.
Yeah, no, both of those guys, and that kind of happens. Remember 2 years ago it was Malcolm Butler who was able to step up and make a name for himself, and then James White, and like you said, Malcolm Mitchell, you know, in this game today. And the guys who you least expect sometimes are the ones who emerge. But just a great team win, and I know there's going to be a lot of celebrating going on for this Patriot team.
Yeah, and a lot of heartache in Atlanta. What a game, what a season by the Atlanta Falcons. But in the end, it's Tom Brady, it's Bill Belichick, it's the New England Patriots doing it again, winning it by 6 points in overtime in a game that none of us will ever forget. Back to you.
It's hard to even put it into words what we just saw, what you all just saw. Thanks for coming over and hanging out with us here on SportsCenter. Jeff, I'll let you have the first word. Yes, it's a great comeback. Yes, Tom Brady is now the first quarterback ever with 5. But how they were able to do it, 19 points in the fourth quarter and then scoring in overtime, What do you have to say?
It's incredible. I mean, just the sheer will to win by this football team was incredible. And like you said, 19 down, the Falcons are driving in, have a chance really to seal it. Instead, sack, then penalty. Now they got to punt it, still come back, drive it all those yards. Got to get two-point conversions to tie. I mean, everything against them. Everything was against them, and they never quit, man. And you didn't see anybody back down. Nobody laid down. Those guys fought to the very end. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, we were sitting here, I'm speechless. It's hard to even put into words how hard this really is to do. I mean, for everybody on that roster, all 53 guys, to keep giving it their all, even the last play, I mean, when Lewis, blows his leg out, I mean, they're going for it even then on the final. I mean, these guys, they put it all out there. Take your hat off to them. Absolutely incredible football victory. Well-deserved Super Bowl champions. I mean, Tom Brady and what he did. I mean, my gosh, man. It was insane. It's insane.
I will say
and he wasn't playing good. That's the bottom line. Is early in the game, he's missing passes he shouldn't. Then when he's dropping dimes, his best guys are dropping it. You never see him fighting. You never see him battling. These guys go right back to the sideline, slapping each other on the back of the head, man. Pick it up. We got you. Blunt fumbles one. Doesn't matter. Kicker kicks one. Bounces on the. Nobody cares, man. Keep battling, keep grinding. They keep doing it. Tom Brady, he's the ultimate leader when you watch what he does on the sideline. He willed his team to victory. It was just absolutely incredible.
It's a remarkable win by New England. Nothing they do should surprise us anymore. The Patriots never led in this football game until they won the game in overtime, Trent.
I'm still trying to process it all, and I don't want to make the mistake of trying to over-explain something that was nearly impossible. I love the sound that they just played because his teammates, what they showed was that they had supreme confidence that one man would do the impossible. Is there a greater compliment you can give to a teammate? Let's put this for 28-3. There's no way you can win that football game. Even the great Tom Brady, even with the greatest coach of all time.
Third quarter.
28-3. And they do. And they do it in such a way that you just have to sit back and say, okay, this is more than him just being a great passer. This is more than just all the great XOs. There's something about this man's soul. There's something about this organization that's deeper than the tangible that allows them to do these things. And I think we're going to look back at this thing 10 years from now and say, we just saw the greatest football game ever played. Not just the greatest comeback, but maybe the greatest football game ever played, Ryan.
I was sitting there in the third quarter like, they're not rushing. They're not hurrying up to the line. They don't seem pressed. It's because of what Trent said, though. They had supreme confidence in the man that Julian Edelman says, I don't think anybody else could have done that. I don't think we will ever see anyone do that again. And that's the way this team feels about their quarterback, and I feel like he plays with that confidence behind him, but also confidence in himself.
It's also very hard at times to explain where experience and inexperience actually shows up.
Right.
What about the experience of this Patriots team where there was no flinch?
Right.
And they had every reason to flinch now. They were getting hammered, and they didn't flinch.
I think the other thing, though, when you look at them getting hammered, like you said, and losing, it's because they weren't playing like we're used to seeing the Patriots play. You know, it wasn't just the Falcons playing well. It was the Patriots making mistakes. It was the Patriots dropping footballs. Exactly. It was the Patriots blowing coverages. We don't see those things from this team. And we saw them all for 3 quarters.
Right.
And you get past that to win the game.
That happens to other teams.
Exactly.
Not to New England. The comeback thing is fascinating. Every year we're reminded the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history was just 10 points. Our colleague Lisa Kearney tweeted that out tonight, and now we can do away with that. It's now 25 points in the Super Bowl.
Say that again.
25 points.
Please, take it, breathe it in.
It's the third greatest comeback in NFL postseason history, by far the greatest in Super Bowl history.
This was the most amazing game I've ever witnessed, and maybe I'm being a little prisoner of the moment, but I don't think so. It's starting to sink in. That was the most improbable comeback in all of sports history, where there was no way, because the New England Patriots of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were all-time bad. followed by all-time great.
All-time.
All-time great. And I did say that back when we launched this show on September 6th. I said, this is going to be the year, Brady. He's going to be the Super Bowl MVP, but not in my wildest dreams or nightmares did I ever see it happening like that happened. And I'm ready to plunge and go this far, and we'll talk about this throughout the show. But for me, I'm the biggest Michael Jordan fan on the planet, but now I have to be objective. I believe that last night, Tom Brady didn't just eclipse the great Joe Montana within the confines of Super Bowl and NFL. I believe last night, Tom Brady eclipsed the man, MJ, Michael Jordan, as the greatest clutch player in all of sports history. Wow. When you look at his Super Bowl resume, and we'll get into it more in detail later, but what he pulled off last night was flat out impossible. Seriously impossible. When the money was on the table, Brady was Brady and Matt Ryan was Matt Ryan. And when he got strip sacked, that was at, I think, 28-12, 8:31 to go in the fourth quarter. And there was that little shot, if we could see it, of Brady on the sideline. Wait! Guess who that guy is? Guess who that guy is? That's Psycho Tom. That's the guy, when I see him emerge, it's like the little kid comes out of him, but it's like a crazed little kid. And he does his little half pirouette, unathletic jump on the sideline. And you say, uh-oh, here he comes. And from that moment on, the stats, think of these. From 28-3 down, he goes 26 of 33 for 284 with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. New England from that point had 338 total yards to 69 for Matt Ryan and company, and just took over the football game. Tom Brady rose above that game and took it over the way nobody in the history of the NFL could do. And in the end, he did get to watch Roger Goodell present that trophy to Bob Kraft, who just delighted in it. He just reveled in it, right? Sweetest ever, right? And Tom Brady did accept the handshake from Roger Goodell because he's a classy individual, and he wasn't going to leave him hanging on that one, though I wish he would have. And in the end,
come on now.
Well, seriously,
not on that stage.
Not on that stage. But in the end, Tom Brady managed to beat Roger Goodell by not only saving his legacy that Roger attempted to tarnish, if not wreck, but he enhanced it last night by starting off so poorly and finishing so all-time great.
I've never seen anything like this. What I saw last night may be the greatest performance I've ever seen in the championship game, in the Super Bowl. I'll go to NFL because I got to think a little bit harder about some NFL encounters and things, NBA encounters rather than things that I've seen. But this is the greatest on a football field that I've ever seen. I thought that Tom Brady was absolutely sensational on so many ways. The passes that he was making when it counted, the accuracy, the poise, everything that you want from your leader. He delivered the goods. Now, he was already considered one of the great ones. After what I saw yesterday, that was a Montana moment that, to me, I had never gotten from Brady. I saw Brady lose an AFC Championship game to Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts. I saw him lose an AFC Championship game against Denver. I saw him not close the deal against the Giants. One time or another, whether it's because of a sack or anything like that, or Eli Manning coming to the rescue with David Tyree or the Mario Manningham hookup. I saw all of these things. I was waiting for what I believed was a Joe Montana moment from Tom Brady to eclipse him over Joe Montana. This was it. I concede. I have nothing to say. It's the greatest performance I've ever seen on a football field.
I've said it. Tom Brady is the greatest football player in the 97-year history of the NFL. There's nothing else to debate. You can get a Harvard-educated lawyer. You can get one from the John Jay School of Law. Nobody can argue this. The fashion in which he did it, and the body of work, his resume is extensive. 14 division titles, 2 Super Bowl, 2 league MVPs, a 5,000-yard passing season, 5 Super Bowls, 4-time he was the Super Bowl MVP. In the past 2, the way he's come back in dramatic fashion. What are we do? He has the highest total passing yards in NFL history in the Super Bowl. 43, 45 of 63, 466, 2 touchdowns. when it mattered the most.
You mean last
in
night?
this game?
Yeah, but this is you were just talking about what you said last week.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm saying if he had won this game, he was going to be the greatest player. He was going to pass Jerry because I gave it to, I thought Jerry and LT. I go back and forth between Lawrence Taylor and Jerry Rice. Throw Jim Brown in there because what he did in the 9 years he played.
Yeah.
But Skip, now for me, it's Tom. What are we debating?
Okay.
It says a lot because to me, he is the Michael Jordan of football. Now, we talk about Aaron Rodgers and his ability of what he can do, but when you have a guy who I would say probably less athletic than a lot of quarterbacks that have played, but still have the mentality of knowing what to do with the right situation and elevating the players around him. Julian Edelman was a quarterback in college. You know, from Chris Hogan was a lacrosse player at Monmouth. You go all the way to Mitchell. Nobody even talk about wide receiver Mitchell. Take Gronk out of it. Martellus Bennett was a backup tight end until Gronk got hurt. Now all of a sudden it became.
But Bennett was a good player.
But see, this is what I'm saying. But
How
it
about
became.
he did it without Gronk?
Well, see, and that's the whole thing. So when you talk about Tom Brady and the consistency that he's had throughout his career, and I compare him to Michael Jordan, and he's not only the greatest quarterback that have played in the NFL, he may be arguably the greatest player. Because quarterbacks get measured a little bit differently. And I say that because last night showed me something different where it became a Michael Jordan moment in Utah, hitting that game winner, holding it up. And holding it up, and I'm a Bulls fan, holding his hand up to follow through to let everybody know where I stand as far as history is concerned. That last night showed where Tom Brady was, with they leading them down for the championship for the win. That right there just let everybody know how great Tom Brady is. And it was a mic drop moment where he can retire at this point, and we would love.
There is one conversation that no longer should be had, will be had, plain and simple. What we saw last night on the world stage of the Super Bowl, what the international football-loving audience saw, what I saw with my own 2 eyes last night, was the minting of a goat. But what we saw last night is a conversation ender as to who the greatest quarterback in the history of the National Football League is. Now, we could have a conversation about who's the greatest football player of all time. Tom Brady put himself on the pantheon of Jerry Rice and Jim Brown last night. I call it like I see it from this desk here at the Rich Eisen Show. Nobody has now more than 5 rings. Nobody has more than 4 rings other than him. He's got the most rings. He did it in a game where he threw for the most yards in the history of the Super Bowl to lead the largest comeback in NFL history in terms of impressiveness, in terms of importance, in terms of clutchness. I understand it wasn't the biggest comeback in playoff history, that Frank Reich comeback for the Bills on the Oilers still is. But come on. Nobody's ever come back from more than 10 points in a Super Bowl. Who's the team that came back from 10 points in a Super Bowl before? That'd be Super Bowl 49 Patriots. Okay? When he was the MVP of that game because he found 4 different receivers and 4 touchdowns. There was no...
At some point, people are going to get into this discussion. And it's going to be interesting because if for anybody that wants to argue that he's not, and you start the conversation, it's amazing because they know they're going to lose the argument, hands down. I mean, when you talk about having the greatest game of your career, the greatest comeback in franchise history, the greatest comeback in the history of the Super Bowl, on the biggest stage, by the most successful, biggest name in our sport in Tom Brady, on the biggest stage. I mean, whatever box you want to check off, if you want to argue against that, you're going to lose.
5 rings, 4 Super Bowl MVPs, setting the record for yards, attempts, completion.